Bob Iger's out and we're the new CEOs. Time to fix everything from parks to streaming. You have to stop AI.
Oh my gosh, what an idea.
So board of directors, I'm speaking to you. Well, what does every CEO need? They need a splashy acquisition.
You do. You need a splashy acquisition. Welcome to the Enchanted Ears podcast,
where we discuss anything and everything Disney.
I'm Angela.
And I'm Joe, and on today's episode, we are throwing our hat in the ring to become Disney's next CEO.
Co-CEOs.
Is this what it is? Co-CEOs? This is like a joint effort here?
I think so.
I like that.
I think we work well as a team.
Less adversarial than us like, hey, just only one of us can get in.
Right, exactly.
But we're getting close to a new CEO being announced. I feel like word on the street is that Josh D'Amaro has become the front runner in terms of being named the next CEO. I think the end of the year is when they've said they will announce it by. With Bob Iger, you never know because things can extend.
He might want to work till he's 90.
Like yeah, I mean, he might just want to keep working. But we thought, hey, what's our pitch? Like, what would we do as leader of the Walt Disney Company to improve things, change things, set Disney up for the future? So this is our pitch. I feel like it's probably not a great idea putting this out on a public podcast because then Josh D'Amaro can just steal our ideas.
You know what? I'm okay if he steals a lot of these ideas.
I am too. I was going to say, if you make the company better, I'm definitely okay with that as well. So would love to hear, though, from our listeners, like, what would you do as CEO? Let us know in the comments. Let us know on Instagram. We're at Enchanted Ears Podcast over there. But we'd love to hear, like, here's the 3 things I would fix if I was CEO.
I'm curious to know what, if you agree with us or if there's additional things. I'm sure there's plenty that we didn't think about that we'll probably finish recording this. Yeah. And as soon as you're doing the end thing, I'll be like, oh, but this thing too. And
just tell us if you agree. If you disagree, we don't want to hear that. Before we get in our pitch, though, a couple pieces of Disney news I do want to mention. So the Disney Starlight Parade, the nighttime parade that's going to be at the Magic Kingdom, it's going to be debuting July 20th. But we did finally get word on when the shows will be taking place. So it's actually going to be 2 shows a night, which is good because I think this is going to be very popular.
Yeah.
So it gives people more opportunities to see it. It's going to happen at 9 and 11, and it sounds like Happily Ever After will happen at 10. So you can almost go see the 9 o'clock show.
Like a parade sandwich. The
Exactly.
parade is the bread.
Yeah. And this is going to be doing kind of the reverse of the Festival of Fantasy Parade. So it's going to start at the end of Main Street and go to like Frontierland, which makes sense because that way they can kind of get Main Street cleared, let people get into Main Street for Happily Ever After at 10 o'clock, and then kind of clear Main Street again for the parade coming through at 11. So exciting that it's going to be happening twice a night. And it's cool that it's doing kind of the reverse there. You can see the parade, see Happily Ever After. That's going to be a great ending to a day at Magic Kingdom.
I'm excited to see this kind of come back. I mean, it's a new iteration of the Electrical Light Parade, and I think it's something that we've been lacking over in Walt Disney World. So I'm excited to see the lights. I'm just hoping for Baroque Hoedown to make an appearance because that song is the best. But yeah, I'm really excited to get a chance to see it when we go the next time.
Yeah. And another thing we'll be able to get to experience next time we go is the new test track.
Yes.
So we got an opening date. The new test track will be July 22nd. So not really much more details in the way of that, but they have been making progress. Like a lot of the scaffolding's been down. They've been doing testing of the ride vehicles, that sort of thing. So we knew it was getting close, but that's opening July 22nd. And the last thing I want to mention is Elio. So Pixar's newest film came out. We did go to see it on opening day. We're going to be doing kind of our review, talking spoilers, talking the movie, but kind of talking our thoughts on it as kind of a mini-sode. So that is going to be for our subscribers, kind of our membership subscribers over on YouTube. So if you're interested, go become an Enchanted Ears Insider over there. We do bonus episodes, bonus content every month. That's going to be one coming out this week. But I bring it up because it is not doing well at the box office. It only is projected to make about $22 million opening weekend, which is the worst opening for Pixar. It's actually behind Elemental. And so not a good look for Pixar in terms of, again, it's an original story, not doing well. I feel like a lot of the problem is the marketing. Like the movie that it is completely different, I feel like, than what the trailer and the marketing even kind of explained going into this. And I also feel like there wasn't a lot of
You don't
marketing
know.
on just when it came out. Like I was you even said like I want to go see Elio, when's it come out? And we're like, oh, it's like next Friday. Like it just it seemed to come up so frequently. So it's interesting of like it's a great movie. It's gotten great reviews, but I think it's just
88%. I saw last night on Rotten Tomatoes, Pixar posted it. So like it is not a movie that you should sleep on. So I think that one of the most important things that we can do is vote with our dollar. And right now, Disney is not. Disney, Pixar. I mean, Pixar always puts out original stuff for the most part. They're not putting out a lot of original stuff. So we need to prove to them that that's what we want. And Elio 100% fits that mold. Great movie. Really touching. I mean, we're not going to, like I said, not going to go into it too much. But yeah, I highly recommend it. And yeah, go see it.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I feel like, I mean, none of the movies this week did exceptionally well. Even, I mean, How to Train Your Dragon, that live action remake, it's done well, but it's not like it's done, you know, I don't think it's going to do $1 billion. Like it feels like just movies in general, like the box office isn't there. But yeah, this seems I was really, really surprised. It seems like it's going to come in third for the weekend. And it's just like, I think so much of it is just marketing, word of mouth. It's so much more difficult just to get people to go to the movies in general. And then especially when it's not clear on what is this movie about, when does it even come out? Like Pixar movies used to be spectacles. You would know, hey, a Pixar movie's coming out months in advance. This is the date. This is the story. Everybody's excited about it. All the marketing was focused on that. And I feel like you just don't have that for not even just Disney movies, but for movies in general. I mean, there's some movies that I was like, oh, when's that movie coming out? And I found out it came out 3 months ago, you know, like a movie I had kind of heard about. And it's like, oh, that movie actually was already in theaters. It's out of theaters. It's on streaming now. And it's like, oh, I didn't even realize that. And I feel like it's tougher to kind of get people to realize what's even happening out there to go see stuff.
Right. Yeah. I think, it's an interesting thing. I think that Pixar wanted the movie to be a little bit more cryptic. They didn't want you to know everything about it. I think that because the theme is so central to it, they didn't want to reveal too much because then they feel like they're almost telling you the story. But yeah, I think that they could have in the trailers revealed a little bit more to try to entice you to go see it. But all I'm saying is go see it. It's a fun movie and worth it.
So that leads perfectly into if we're CEO, because I think one thing I would change is better marketing for the movies. Because again, I feel like you just don't know these movies are coming out. They do. They try to mask the story so much. Like they're so afraid of giving anything away about the story that they basically tell you almost nothing. And so to the point where you're not even really that excited about the movie. I mean, even with Moana 2, and, you know, we've talked about Moana 2, not our favorite. We don't think it was good as Moana 1. But, like, basically the trailer was just essentially the same story beats. It made it seem like it was the exact same story as Moana 1. Like, it basically did not show anything different. It was kind of like rehashing. If you love Moana, you're going to love this movie because it's the exact same movie. And I feel like just again, they're so hesitant to screw up. Yeah. That it then causes them to screw up because they don't get you excited about it.
I think that Disney and Pixar is used to being able to coast off of the name Disney Pixar.
Yeah.
And so because of that, they are making the mistake of assuming people are going to go see these things, when I think that we have a real problem in our society as a whole of people not wanting to engage with social settings. I think that is a major issue. And I'm not saying I don't do it, but if I can stay in my own home versus go out in public and interact with other people, sometimes I just find it sometimes easier just to stay in my own home. So then the mentality is, oh, well, I can wait for this to come out later on and I'll see this whenever it's on Disney Plus. But I think that is a falsitude, because going to see it in the movie theater, having the wonderful surround sound, the giant screen, The colors in the movie are awesome. You're in an alien world for a lot of it. I mean, that's
For Elio,
something.
you're talking about Elio.
Yeah, for
You're talking
Elio.
about
But
Elio,
even
yeah.
like think to Elemental. I mean, that wasn't an alien world, but it was a completely different world.
Well,
that was built
every
around
Pixar world is
and
like that,
and
yeah.
Disney as well.
Yeah.
That's why I make the argument that like the animation is like animation's so important. That's why I think that, you know, these movies are so worth seeing because they're art. They're living, breathing, moving art. And I would rather see a canvas, you know, huge canvas rather than like one that's on my wall in my house.
Yeah, well, you touch on a good point, and I think it goes back to Bob Chapek and just the whole push of, especially Pixar. Every Pixar movie was coming out on Disney Plus because his vision was we need to get people to sign up for streaming. Like that was the goal when Disney Plus started. We need to get everybody to sign up for streaming. So it is better for us to spend $150 million making a movie and getting $0 back from it at the box office to give it free on streaming. And so, to your point, Disney, you know, Pixar kind of rode on their name, but that devalued the name somewhat because it's why do I want to pay to go to a theater? Movie tickets are expensive. It's an expensive thing, especially if you have kids, whenever I can see it for free. And I don't think they fully recovered from that. Like I do think if that would have never happened, now, not that every Pixar movie would open number one, but like you would go see it at a movie theater. And again, I'm somebody that loves going to a movie theater, and I feel like I go see less movies than I did 3 years ago, because I don't know what they're about. If I see a trailer, and again, it doesn't tell me much about the movie, and I go, it looks okay, it doesn't look great, I'll just wait for it to come out on streaming. Like there is a real like sea change that happened. So kind of getting into my pitch here as CEO, because this kind of ties into my first thing. I have kind of a 3-pillar approach. So board of directors, I'm speaking to you, my 3-pillar approach here for CEO. So it covers content, distribution, and then parks and experiences. So these are kind of the 3 key areas of focus I see for the Disney company.
So this is your content. So you're talking about content.
This is
currently.
content, because I think I've talked a lot about this. I think one of the biggest missteps Disney's had in recent years is with Disney Plus and their streaming strategy. Yeah. Disney Plus, when it started, was perfect. It was inexpensive. It was the Disney Channel 24 hours a day. It was behind the scenes, hardcore Disney fan content. And that is what it should have been. Then they decided we now need to compete with Netflix. We need to compete with Hulu. And so we need to come out with original content. We need to put all of our movies, make movies out here. And you cannot win a game where the amount of content you can have is unlimited. There is no limit. It's if you're programming a TV channel, it's 24 hours a day. Once you have 24 hours, you're good.
You're done.
You're good. You can never have enough content. And so having Hulu and Disney Plus and trying to make unlimited content for both is just a losing proposition. My focus would be combining the streaming services, and they have talked about this. It seems like they're going in this direction, but having Hulu and Disney Plus and even ESPN, because I think you do have to do something with people just cutting cable and dropping that sort of thing. But having at least Disney Plus and Hulu as a unified streaming platform where you're making content for one platform. Because then that way you sell it as one, you're making all the content for one, so you can have your kind of hardcore Disney fan stuff that's kind of would be more Disney Plus. You can have all of your, scripted shows, original shows, movies, it's Hulu, but at least you're only having to make unlimited content one time. Like they need to consolidate their streaming, and they need to focus on quality over quantity. So again, like we don't need 15 Marvel TV shows. Yeah. It's become it. I mean, it's hurt in the same way we talked about. Pixar used to be a bankable name. Marvel used to be a bankable name.
Yeah.
Their movies, the Thunderbolts was one of the poorest performing Marvel movies, even though critically it was one of the best received ones.
I was going to say, I've only heard good things about the Thunderbolts. We haven't seen it.
Because it was only in theaters for a month.
We haven't seen it, yeah.
It pulled from theaters so quickly because it wasn't doing well. And part of that is the oversaturation of Marvel.
Yep. There's
And-
too much
right,
Marvel.
right.
Like as a person, so let me just cut in here. And I think I probably said this before. I really enjoy like the Marvel stories. I think they're a lot of fun, but they have created so much over the past, I don't know how many years. It's been 20.
No, it's 2008 is when it started, so we're on like 16, 17
Okay,
years.
around
Yeah,
20 though.
close to 20.
So
yeah, I guess
around-
you're closer than I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, like around 20 years, we've been getting so many superhero stories that it is becoming difficult for them to come out with something new. I know a lot of people, okay, I'm going to use She-Hulk, even though it's probably a terrible example of this. A lot of people hated on She-Hulk and said it was terrible. Did it need to exist? Probably not, but I did appreciate the different take that it had. It had like a lighter, airier, almost more like, I don't know, I don't want to say romantic comedy. It's not a romantic comedy, but
She-Hulk is very much like Deadpool, where she breaks the fourth wall
She
and
does.
talks to the camera.
And
Yeah.
so I appreciated it because it was different. It was not like cut and dry and like every other one, you know, you have a character that kind of maybe reluctant or not reluctantly have to save the planet. Like that story does, like, it's exciting and it's really fun. I love an adventure movie, but time after time after time, you start to like get a little sick of it. And so like, yeah, like what was the one that I didn't even finish watching with Nick Fury? The Secret Wars. Secret
yeah,
Wars. Like
yeah.
I started
Secret
watching
Invasion. Secret Invasion.
I
Secret
started-
Wars is going to be the Avengers movie.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we started watching that together and I was just like, I can't buy into this. Like I just I'm not entertained by this.
Are you not entertained?
No.
Well, I think the problem with Marvel currently, when it worked initially, it was 4 or 5 characters and then an Avengers meetup. Like you knew they were building to a
There's a
meetup.
plan.
They came together.
I love it when a plan comes together.
Yeah, they came
Not Marvel.
together and then they broke apart and had their individual stories. But there was a handful of people you had to follow. Now you essentially have three or 4 teams. I mean, you have an Avengers team, which hasn't kind of reassembled. You have the Thunderbolts, which is a team. There's been hints of the Young Avengers. There are so many characters to follow that's where it becomes difficult because you feel like, hey, I missed 1 or 2 of these TV shows. I don't know who these characters are. Well, there's no point in following along because it's too spread out. I get where they're going because they have this in the comic books where, hey, if you're a fan of the Thunderbolts, you can follow the Thunderbolts story and then maybe it weaves into an Avengers story. Mm-hmm. You know, you like the X-Men, then it's going to weave in. The problem is that's very difficult to do in movies because it's not like they're making the Thunderbolts cinematic universe and the X-Men cinematic universe and then the Avengers and then kind of tying it all together. They're making a Thunderbolts movie, then they're making a Fantastic Four movie. It's harder to kind of piece all that together. Like, I think they're trying to get to the point where, like, hey, if you like Fantastic Four, then, you know, we're going to have 4 or 5 movies for you. But you can't have 15 movies come out in a year in the way you can have 15 different comic books come out in a year.
Yeah.
And I think that's where they're having trouble bridging the gap. I think it's a similar thing and a similar issue they're having over at Star Wars is they're trying to do too many different storylines. Hey, we're going to have Bad Batch. We're going to have pre-Republic. We're going to have post-Empire, post-First Order. And so every series that comes out is a different timeline. It's a different fan base. It's a different audience. And so if I'm a fan of The Mandalorian, I don't necessarily care about The Acolyte. I maybe don't care about Bad Batch because that story isn't in the same characters, in the same Skeleton Crew. Yeah, isn't in the same timeline. Like they need to say, hey, we're going to do the Mandalorian era and everything around that should be that. And then once that's closed, then go, okay, we're going to do the High Republic era. Like you need more kind of strategy behind it.
As a Star Wars fan, I literally somewhat like know when a lot of times in the timeline things are taking place.
Nobody does. Nobody does.
I mean, I just sort of watch it and then I maybe will pick up from context like something, but like something that's going on, like or what has or hasn't happened yet. But it is kind of a bit of a like a holy mess. So like something that sort of like simplifies it would be easier.
But my big thing with content, and this is my like key piece, main point of the content here, is you have to stop AI. And Disney and Universal have filed a lawsuit against, I think it's Midjourney, for copyright infringement, that they basically trained their AI models on Disney and Universal intellectual property. And I think that is an important fight for Disney, and I think they have to win that fight because AI has advanced so far. I'm sure people have seen out there now, like the Stormtrooper vlogs people are making, or like Bigfoot vlogs. Like basically, AI can create video now of anything and make it look realistic. And it's only, maybe 30 seconds a minute now. But in a few years, they're going to be able to make longer sequences. And if anybody can go out there and they can type in a prompt and they can make a Star Wars looking video or a Marvel looking video or a Disney looking video, they're going to be able to make a movie. They can make a movie. And so now, when it used to just be fans doing fan fiction and message boards and commenting, it would have really been good if episode 8 was like this instead. Somebody can make that movie for next to nothing and they can put it out there. And once you have everybody making their own versions of what they want to see out there, then nobody has to go to the movies. Nobody has to see Disney Plus. And so I think Disney needs to make sure, and Universal and all the other studios, but if I'm Disney, I need to make sure that people can't do that. In conjunction with that, because I think to a certain extent, the genie's somewhat out of the bottle and it's going to be hard to stop that. Disney needs to kind of transition their content strategy to focus on what they do best: storytelling and kind of community. Because sure, I can go out and I can make something that looks like Star Wars, but we've talked about Pixar. They're great at storytelling. They're great at building something. So I think they need to focus on that, focus on community, get into like what they're doing with Fortnite, with VR. Like, you need to build almost a social network around Disney Plus. Like, bring in user content. So, maybe it's to the point, instead of fighting with the people for making Stormtrooper vlogs and all this sort of stuff, bring it into the Disney fold somehow of like, hey, this is a sanctioned way for you to share your content, but at least you're coming on our platform and discussing it, and you're building a community and somehow helping us design the next movies. Like, they need to crack that code somehow, because I do think it's going to be so easy for people to make their own content of movies, of, things that they like, that they're going to be less incentivized even more to go to a movie studio. So you need to build some other reason for them to still interact with you in some way. So I think that community aspect is where, AI is not going to replace a community aspect. Might replace the content that's getting made, but that community, I think, is where the key is going to be.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that you have a good point there. One of my favorite books, like favorite classical novels ever, is Frankenstein. And so, what we're talking about now is you got Frankenstein's monster. And Frankenstein's monster was not inherently bad. It's just that he was not nourished by Victor Frankenstein. The scientist's name is Frankenstein, not the monster. And so because he was set up upon the world and everyone shunned him, then he became bad. So it is like, if Disney can find a way to, control the monster, find a way to nourish the monster, then they could, it could have a very different ending than, if they kind of do, like, they shun it. I kind of like this idea that you have, where they can kind of find a way to bring those people into the fold and like, I don't know, nourish them, as opposed to.
I mean, they're going to have to, because if you can go and you can make your own 100%. Star Wars movie
100%
that is better, that you like because it's personalized to you, why would you ever go see any Star Wars movie Disney made? Yeah, I mean, the level of quality the AI videos have now is frightening.
Yeah.
In 5 years, it's going to be impossible to tell.
AI terrifies me. But yeah, okay. I like this idea. I think that you do need to, and some people are probably going to hate me for this, I think you have to add some sort of multiple tier of pay model for Disney Plus, because as we're saying, part of the problem is people are waiting, like we do it sometimes too, like waiting to see a movie, the Thunderbolts. Oh, well, it'll be in theaters, and then it's not in theaters, and like, no big deal, I guess. We won't have to try to hunt it down to see if we can find one theater, still have it. Because it'll be on Disney Plus in a couple months. So I feel like there needs to be like a year hold on new movies or something. And if you want those new movies, you pay a different tier, you pay extra for certain things. So like if you want all of that new content immediately, then you pay, I don't know what Disney our membership is.
Well, I mean, it's an interesting thing too. If even like you say, like wait a year, like I don't know why they all rush to put it on streaming. Right
I don't
away.
either. It makes no sense.
Like why have Thunderbolts in theaters for a month?
Yeah.
Again, it was a busy month for us.
Yeah.
And I was okay. Let's go see it this weekend. It's like
what
nope,
was it? Like,
it's
yeah,
not
May,
in,
right?
It's not in theaters. Yeah, and so yeah, why not have it in theaters for a few months? Why not wait a year, 6 months to put it on streaming? Because then you're kind of penalized.
Yeah.
For getting it for free. Or yeah, if you want it sooner, pay. Like they're gonna have to do something like that because they cannot keep making movies for $200 million to get half that back at the box office.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely. It just has to be that way. And
as fans, I don't love it.
Yeah, I don't love that
like
as a fan. But from a perspective of
a
they
business
need
perspective,
to do something to drive people to go to the theaters. From a company perspective, I think that Disney does a lot of like crappy things. I think this is one of the least crappy things that they can do.
Well, because the downside of this is, so again, from a fan perspective, that's maybe not great, but from a fan perspective, we have to think about the alternative. Mm-hmm. If these movies don't do well in theaters, they are going to not be able to make as much content. Mm-hmm. The content they make is going to be of a lesser quality because they're not going to put the money into it. And so ultimately, it's going to kind of hurt us either way. So I would rather, like, again, to your point, I like going to the movie theater. So like I would rather have more opportunity to go see something in theaters for them to kind of make their money back that way to continue to make these movies.
Yeah, and I think that this like rolls in really nicely to sort of my next point, which is that we need more original content. We need to stop doing
like original stories, not sequels and stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
So sequels are great. I mean, Frozen 2, I think, is arguably one of the best Disney movies, period, and stop. But I think that if you are going to create, and I think the Toy Story franchise, you could probably make the argument that a lot of those are really good, and they have
gotten better. They've gotten better over time.
So I think that it's not that I think that sequels are bad. I don't think sequels are bad, but I do think that if you are going to be making a sequel, it needs to be made with extreme care and caution. And it needs to be up to the same level, like, of the original, at least.
And I will say, I do feel like Disney Pixar does do this for the most part. If you look at Incredibles 2, that came out, what, a decade after? 14 years? Frozen was a pretty quick turnaround. Moana was 8 years or something.
But Moana was not the care, and the care was not taken with Moana.
Well, that was, again, I think part of that was just kind of the change in leadership, where it was going to be we went from everything's on Disney Plus to now going theatrical. So I think there was a little bit there. But my point is, it's not like a lot of studios where, hey, we have a hit movie, every 2 years we have to have another one. And we just have to have a sequel, like they make sure they have a decent story.
Like the Fast and the Furious.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking, or like, Transformers and stuff. Like these major franchises, it's like, hey, the first one did great. Let's keep making them. And they don't get as good. Like they at least I feel like do a decent job what you're talking about, like making sure they at least have a story. They're not just pumping it out for no reason.
Yeah.
Even Toy Story, like, yeah, it's, hey, we're having Toy Story 4 and 5, but they are pretty good. Like Toy Story 4 was good. Yeah. So it's not like they just, hey, Woody's doing something again, But I
do think also, for the most part, and this is like kind of the other prong of that, I think that Disney Studio needs to sit down with Pixar Studio, because I was always a big Disney fan. Disney was they're the same company, but not, right? So I was always like, the Disney movies were the ones that excited me. And of course, I'll go see the Pixar ones too. I like them. But I have flipped recently. I think that Pixar comes out with far more unique stories. They're more touching. They're more thematically strong. The last several Disney movies that came out were weak, I think. Like, I don't think any of them would be placed in anywhere near the top. I think Wish was a mess. I think Moana 2 was a bit of a mess. But the last two Pixar movies were Elemental and Elio. I think both of those movies were excellent. I would like I've watched Elemental more than once. I would, as soon as Elio comes on Disney
Loved
Plus,
Elio.
I will watch
Loved
it again.
Elio.
Like, Pixar has the secret sauce, and I think before Pixar has shared some of their process with Disney, they need to go back in. They need to educate. Like, and again, I don't know what the problem is. I don't think it's the story writers over at Disney. I think there is something going on from above. They're getting pressure. We have to have this. We have to have that. We can't have this. We can't have that. I think Pixar maybe gets a little more freedom. I don't know. But this is why I'm going to go in as CEO, and I am going to diagnose whatever that problem is. And then Pixar and Disney are going to sit down and they're going to talk about what their process is. And we're going to figure out where the kinks are with Disney's process so that they can come out with better quality output than they have been, and be more on par with what Pixar is doing currently.
So I think what will be an interesting test for this is Zootopia 2, because that's the Disney movie coming out this year, because I think this is probably the first one of the last couple Disney movies. So you mentioned Wish, you mentioned Moana 2. Wish, I do feel like was pushed through because it was the 100th anniversary of the company, and so they kind of had a deadline to hit. They had to hit it. We talked about Moana 2. That was a TV series that they converted into a movie, so it wasn't developed as a movie. So Zootopia 2, I feel like, is like the first one that they've, in the past few years, that they've really developed it as a movie. It's something they've kind of wanted to do directly. So it'll be interesting to see how that one comes out. Because I do think Moana 2, if they would have from the onset said this is a movie, would have been far better.
And I do think that I was maybe unnecessarily harsh on Moana 2. I think it's better than I gave it credit for, because I watched it again a little bit in like my classroom and I was like, oh no, this is pretty fun, but I haven't watched it the whole way through. I think the music is better than I thought it was.
Yeah.
So like, but it isn't Moana 1.
Yeah. My point with that is I don't necessarily think it's a process problem.
It was a leadership.
I think it was just the objectives of Disney. So to your point of maybe was there more involvement in Disney versus Pixar? Like I do think, Pixar, their edict was like, just keep making movies. And it was just like, hey, we're just going to throw them on Disney Plus. Like they were just like, Pixar, just keep making movies. That's all we need from you. Whereas I think Disney, their past few movies had very different goals and objectives and things they had to deal with, because they are the flagship studio. I mean, if you think about Disney animation, that's what Walt invented. As much as big as Pixar is, that had it. So it'll be interesting to see with Zootopia there.
I do think that Zootopia 2, they again, marketing doing a very poor job of explaining what the movie is about. Now we are 6+ months. Well, no, we're not 6 months out, because
5 months.
We're 5 months out. But it's interesting because you can kind of like deign from the preview what the story is a little bit about, but it's not like super clear. But it seems like,
but
Judy
Zootopia, Zootopia, though.
But you feel it seems like Judy and Nick are trying to protect this snake character from the police, because they maybe have some sort of piece of information that the police don't have. So it is an interesting like reversal, because they are running from the cops when they are the cops. But like I do think, I'm hoping that we get a little bit more. I do think this movie is going to be better. I do love the fact that they are protecting a snake, because people hate snakes in general. And I think that snakes are lovely. Almost stepped on 4 of them the other day. They're very peaceful creatures. Never like tried to.
A lot of movies with snake characters this year, because Bad Guys 2.
Oh,
which we see trailers for all the time before all these Disney movies and stuff. Has a snake in it.
Seriously, somebody message us and let us know if those Bad Guys movies are worth us checking out. They're not Disney, but I see the books. They look pretty good. They seem
That's
like
Universal, right?
Is it? I don't know.
I think it's
it may be
Universal that
probably
does that,
but I do think that this also goes into something else that we could do to really draw people back into the theaters. Do you know what that is, Joe?
Free movie tickets.
No.
I mean, that would do it though.
No.
You give me a free ticket, I'm going.
What are your? I feel like this
free
is
popcorn.
Millennial Gen Xers always complaining about with Disney. What do we want?
TikTok.
What are we nostalgic for?
Live action remakes.
Absolutely not. We want our hand-drawn animation back, baby. As
I'm okay.
CEO,
I'm
nope,
okay.
nope. As CEO, I'm bringing back. We're doing hand-drawn animation. We don't have to do it for every movie, but we are bringing back hand-drawn animation. We're bringing new content, hand-drawn. We're getting some of those older animators back. You know, we're getting the Bancroft brothers. We're getting some of the designers of some of those old, like villains and stuff. We're bringing them back to get a couple like nice 2D animation movies.
See, I think this is perfect example for like what you put on Disney Plus, because hand-drawn animation is very expensive. Not that the movies they make now are cheap, but it's expensive, and I think, you know, there's not as many people out there doing it. It's harder to find people. To me, what I think the good plan is, to your point, to bring this back is start with shorts. Like, make some hand-drawn animation, do characters, but start with shorts. Put them on Disney Plus. Do it in a lower risk environment, because if you put $200 million into a hand-drawn animation movie, like they tried to do this with like Princess and the Frog, because that was hand-drawn
and it was beautiful.
That was kind of going back, but like it didn't do as well as they wanted at the box office, and so basically like, that was like the last shot for hand-drawn animation. So if you go out and do this again and it doesn't do well, you're just kind of dooming it. But if you put it on Disney Plus and you have
like a strong reaction to it,
you have a strong reaction to it, you do smaller bits of it, you know, you do 10-minute shorts, something like that, and you kind of like build support for it, that's how you can build it back. Like, and again, who are the people that are the fans of Disney Plus? Hardcore Disney fans. Give me behind the scenes stuff on Disney Plus. Give me documentaries about how the movies are made. Give me experimental little shorts going back to, like, do a whole behind the scenes of, we're trying to bring back hand-drawn animation, and do a documentary about how Walt did it and how the 9 Old Men did it, and how we're going back into that history to bring back this lost art of animation. And I'm like, I got to see these shorts. This is amazing. And then show me these shorts. And then that's how you get people excited. Like, show people the process behind the scenes. I think one of the reasons why Frozen 2 is so good is because you saw a documentary about everything they went through to make Frozen 2, and how the songs weren't working, and how it was 3 months before the movie comes out. And they're like, we still don't think we have this scene cracked, and everything they went through, and all the animators. And then when you see it, it's like, it means so much more to you to have that behind the scenes of it.
All right. How about this?
Okay.
I like where you're going with this, and this is why we're co-CEOs.
Yes.
Okay. What if there are a series of cartoons?
Okay.
We'll do. We can't be more than 5, because you don't want to give people too many choices. But each one.
5 different cartoons. I think
5
like
different
5 episodes.
hand-drawn cartoons. Okay.
Yep.
Each one establishing a different new character.
Okay.
They have like a fun little short about them.
Yeah.
And then on the internet,
we vote.
People vote which one they want to see get their own feature length
on Disney Plus.
Okay. Whatever.
Because again, what did I say we need? Community.
So social, yeah.
You need social interaction. You need community. But so let the viewers tell you.
How much of a groundswell would that create if you get to pick the next movie that they make, and then they develop that character?
Oh, I like that.
Into an actual.
I like that. I think that goes into kind of what I was saying with content. What I was talking about with content too kind of goes into my point of distribution. Those two are kind of linked. So what I was talking about of combining the streaming networks, that's more distribution, but it's also content driven, because you have to make too much content. So kind of getting into my distribution pillar here, I definitely think you need to merge those into one streaming service. The other thing I think you need to do is I think you need to embrace non-Disney social media apps. So look this up, and I'll have you guess, because I was kind of surprised by this. What do you think is the #1 social media app used by Gen Z today?
The #1 social media app?
Yeah, used by Gen Z.
All right.
Like, what's the #1 app you think they're using to consume information?
The obvious answer is TikTok, but
okay,
I'm gonna go with Instagram.
No, it's actually YouTube.
That makes sense.
YouTube
that makes
is
sense.
the #1. Yeah, I thought it was TikTok too, but YouTube is the #1 app. And I think that just goes to show even more than ever that basically YouTube has become TV. More people are watching YouTube than television. Gen Z is on YouTube more than any other app. And I almost think it's kind of counterintuitive, but I think Disney's distribution strategy should be to put episodes of their original content free on YouTube.
Yeah.
I think they need to,
embrace that.
Like they're trying to make ESPN streaming because people aren't on TV. You need to embrace YouTube and a bit of a free model to hook people in to then maybe, I mean, you could just have a paid subscription on YouTube to see all the content, and maybe you don't need Disney Plus. Hey, you like The Mandalorian? You pay on YouTube just to see The Mandalorian. But I do think they need to embrace putting their content and maybe these shorts you have out there, put it out there on YouTube. Let younger generations vote on it. Get contents, get a groundswell from it, because I think just thinking, oh, it's called Disney Plus, people are just going to naturally come to us. I mean, it's worked so far, but there's a limit to how much that's going to work before you need to try to reach new audiences.
You need to have the buy-in. Like, you figure, like, when we were growing up, there was only a limited amount of content that we can engage with. And then if you limited it down further, it was only a limited amount of, like, kids content. So if you and I were watching TV when we were, 10 years old, we are watching Nickelodeon, we are watching Cartoon Network, or we are watching the Disney Channel.
Yeah.
Those are the three sources of content. Well, now Disney is fighting with unlimited sources of content from all of the streaming services, from YouTube. And then, of course, like, their parents fight with, like, okay, they could be also watching stuff that's not kids content, but it's harder to regulate. So it is like this really scary, like, uphill battle that Disney is fighting. And you're right, like, there needs to be some sort of a pivot, some way. Getting into Fortnite is a great way to get the characters, like, become familiarized with the characters, and having people wanting to purchase the skins of their favorite Marvel characters, or saying, oh, that character looks cool, but then they might be more apt to say, oh, well, I like that Iron Man skin, what's the Iron Man movie about?
Yeah, just learning about the characters to then go see the movie.
Right, because their entry points are going to be so vastly different than what our entry points were. So yeah, I think that's a really, like, valid point that you have there, is, like, putting this stuff onto YouTube would be a great way to, like, engage more people. And also, like, as a again, I bring this up all the time, but as a classroom teacher, a lot of times there's, like, weird workarounds, like, with like, we have a board that we can, like, smart cast onto from our laptops. You would think, like, oh, I sign into my Disney Plus account, and I, like, on the last day of school, I can put on Disney Plus. It doesn't work all the time. Like, every year I complain to you, like, the day before Christmas, I'm like, I can't get it up on the screen because, like, there's something that happens with it, and they have, like, some sort of a block on it. So I can't just put Disney on. So the easiest way for me to put anything on TV is to go to YouTube. So if they put it on YouTube, like, I can put it up.
Yeah, you're going to reach a larger audience.
Yeah, YouTube isn't blocked. And again, you don't have to have a subscription,
right,
like I do. So yeah.
Yeah. I think the last part of distribution is they need to develop a serious video game strategy, because, again, I think this is another place where you can reach a new audience that you're not maybe currently reaching. So they have Fortnite, but, like, Disney has been so off and on with video games. They own a video game studio. They didn't. They're partnering with a studio to develop video games. They're not, like,
they're partnering with The Void, which is not a video game,
but
it's VR.
Well, that's not a video game.
It's not,
that's a live
but
experience.
I'm saying, like, they show, like, interest in like, those gaming kind of things, and they sort of pull out.
Right. But I think they need to develop a serious strategy, because, again, I think that is probably the last distribution channel they really don't own. I mean, they have theatrical, they have streaming, they have parks, but, like, video games, I think, is an area. I mean, everybody has phones, people play games everywhere. Like, that is, I think, a vertical they really need to have a serious strategy on, and look at that as a way, again, to build community, to build something where content is going to become ubiquitous. They need another reason of kind of a social aspect to get people to kind of interact with them.
Okay, so again, this is why we're co-CEOs. I agree with you. I think they need to look at the developers of Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, the Zelda games.
What's Nintendo?
Yeah, okay. So Nintendo, look at those games particularly, because those games are wildly popular. that it is a very cartoon world. It's open world. It's not like really particularly scary. It's very like engaging, and there's lots of different like side missions. Well, has Disney ever like had like a cool sort of product like that before with video games? Yes, they kind of have. It was never open world, but if they go back to the Kingdom Hearts franchise and create an open world game with Sora as your main character, who's kind of a lot like Link. He carries a keyblade instead of the Master Sword, but you have it so that he can go to the different worlds, because, you know, if you've never played the game Kingdom Hearts, we did an episode about it a long time ago, but if you've never played it, it's like these Final Fantasy type characters, and they go into different Disney worlds. Like they are like not Disney World, but like they go to Hercules, like they go to Mount Olympus, and then they interact with Hercules and characters from that movie there. And then they go over to Pride Rock and they're interacting with Simba and Scar, and they're kind of moving their way in and through those stories and interacting, but like in a new way. Doing something like that where you have this open world and you can go to these different realms. But it's not just like one of those, I can't remember what they're called, like the video games that you have to go in a specific direction. I feel like you know what those are called, but maybe you don't. But like, it's not one of those where it's like you have one thing that you have to do, one objective that you have to accomplish, but you can kind of move around and do different things that appeal to you and then go back and do something later once you beat the game. I think that is like a really big ticket, because I think that is a really cool game that they had, but now that I've played Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, I'm like, I can't go back and play those games because it's not as fun. So I think they have something there. And I think getting into video games is a great way to engage, you know, your nostalgic video game players like me, or like a new generation that, again, you're interacting with these old movies and then you're like, oh, that's cool. That movie seems cool. Let me go watch it.
Yeah. I mean, they just need to be consistent with it. Like I mean, you're talking kind of a specific game to build and design to use. Like, I think they just need to have a consistent game plan and strategy for video games, and that they are, you know, not this, hey, we're going to do something and then every 2 or 3 years it's like abandoning it and then starting something new. Like have a strategy. I'm going to come back to this in a minute here, because I do think this ties in a little bit to what I'm going to talk about with parks and experiences, which is my last pillar I have here for my pitch. So I think parks and experiences has almost become the most important part of Disney now, just with what we've talked about with theatrical releases not bringing in the same box office, with ESPN and cable networks kind of dropping off as people cut cable. Parks is really where it's making all the money. I do think they have gotten a little bit overextended in terms of parks and experiences. Like, I think they're building too many cruise ships, too much stuff. Like, I think they need to pull back on some of that stuff, because the problem is, I think they're looking at this as like, people love our cruises. They're always booked. We need to build more cruise ships. But we've kind of seen this with like Disney World, where like the park becomes so big, it becomes hard to maintain what's already there and try to build new. And so it's like, I think, when you have 4 or 5 cruise ships, that's one thing. When you have 10 cruise ships, it becomes a lot harder to kind of maintain and staff that and kind of keep that quality. So for me, I'm kind of pulling back a little bit in terms of like the expansion of the parks, the experiences, and kind of getting back to that focus on world-class travel destinations. Like, I think you need to focus on like guest satisfaction with things like Magical Express, free fast passes. I think you need to focus on cast member satisfaction. If that's, that's live entertainment. If that's, increasing raises, working conditions,
wages,
whatever it is, because what did you love about going to Disney parks most a decade ago? It was the cast members were standouts. It was so special. They made my interactions great. And I'm not saying now the cast members aren't still great, but you hear about that where it's like
there's less joy.
There's less of that sometimes.
There seems to be less joy and pride, and that's actually something I had is like better pay for cast members. I do feel like there's been a lot of talk, like not like right now, but in the past that they ask for a little bit more. So what they seem to be asking for seems pretty reasonable, and for a company that makes billions of dollars, it's like, I mean, you could pay them a little bit more, and then they could, I think that pride of coming, like working for a company that takes care of them, I think that might help increase like their amount of joy. And then like that's what makes Disney World so special. And again, I don't think that is a reflection on the cast members. I think that that's a reflection on management and just like the upper levels. And I think that has happening with a lot of jobs, like a lot of places that you have that where the people who work there don't feel appreciated, and then it kind of trickles down, and you're less joyful when you're doing your job.
Yeah, and I think it's even just things of like, you see Disney, oh, we're going to get rid of all the live entertainment. Like there's a cutback. We're just going to get rid of people, and just have less live entertainment. And then, yeah, I think that hurts morale amongst employees. And then I also think it hurts guest satisfaction because there's not live entertainment. Like that adds, having live shows, having live entertainment adds a special magic. It adds a spontaneity to going to the parks where you don't know what's going to happen. You may go and a performer is going to connect with you in a way that you didn't expect or they didn't expect, because it is live and because anything can happen. It's not necessarily like, hey, I go ride, I'm riding, I was going to say Space Mountain. There's not animatronics or anything on that, but like I know what the ride's going to be, like I'm in the dark, or I go on a ride like Tiana's. It's going to be the same animatronics every time. Like there's not that much variability in your interactions with those attractions. But if you go to Epcot and over in Canada, they're performing over there, and maybe it's a song you love and you start singing and the singer connects with you, your people are dancing. It adds a different atmosphere. And so I think you need to focus on that. And I think you need to focus again on making them world-class travel destinations, improving what is already there, getting the rides fixed so that you don't have major downtime, you don't have major, wait time, people waiting in lines. Like, have kind of like pride in your old attractions and kind of keep everything, like make everything better. Focus on plussing what you have. Yeah.
Getting the guns back up and Rise of the Resistance that everyone knows not everyone, but people know should move back and forth.
I think that's a minor thing.
See,
because
I don't think it's so minor, but it's not minor because the movement of the ride is that you go forward and then you move back, and you're moving back out of the gun's way. And it makes no sense that you're doing that when the gun does not move.
Yeah, I think that's my point is, I think that's minor in terms of that overall attraction versus something like Figment, which is so outdated, it needs an update.
See, I argue that Rise is a ride that everyone wants to ride, whereas Figment is not. So you can ignore Figment in favor of fixing Rise and making it better.
But my argument is
make Figment better so that people want to
ride it.
Right.
Or again, older attractions that are breaking down often and have significant downtime. And so it's like, why not put money in them so that they don't have downtime, or that sort of thing.
Think about like a ride like Three Caballeros, okay?
Yeah, that's another great one. Like let's plus that up.
I don't think that you need to get rid of it. I think it's cute, but everything is on screens except for like that one, like the one set of animatronics at the very end.
Yeah.
So is there a way that we can plus that, make it better, add more animatronics, take away some of the screens?
But see, that's exactly my point.
Fill up, like make the story, pad out the story.
That's exactly, yep.
Yeah, like there's things that you can do with that ride that take it from a ride that you ride so you can say that you did it, to one that is really enjoyable. And it's like, all right, Mickey and Minnie and Goofy are on Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. I mean, Donald's in there,
right,
but he's not even like like Goofy's
like
a main character.
Yeah.
Daisy is a main character. Yeah. But Donald is just in some of the scenes. Like he has his own ride. Great. Fix it. Make it better.
Yeah. That's my point is kind of just building what you have.
True.
My last piece, and I think this is very important, and it's something that especially hit me whenever we went to Universal Studios Hollywood a few weeks ago. We went back to Super Nintendo Land. So it's the second time we've been there. So we not the one at Epic Universe, but the one out in California. There's something about stepping into that land because it is just
breathtaking.
but it's just fun. It is lively. It is fun. And we were talking about this, like Disney's recent lands don't have that. Galaxy's Edge is very muted colors. There's it's based in kind of realism. Avengers Campus again is kind of based in realism. Pandora's good. That's definitely colorful, otherworldly. But there's not there's not a lot happening necessarily in the land.
Well, and also, I mean, if you watch the movie, there are like little creatures moving everywhere all the time, and it's like you've got the plant life, but I was talking to this with Joe when we were running. Like, it was. There's something about Pandora, and I never really thought about it, that it's like convincing to an extent, but then there's so much more that they could be doing to make it more convincing.
So I think they need a new land with fun IP. They need something that is just like fun, whimsical, uplifting, that you just go in there and you just have a smile on your face, and it doesn't have to be real. It's just all about fun. So I do think video games are like Super Nintendo World works, because I think it's a video game. It kind of lends itself to like the game ability and the rides and stuff like that.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
I don't know. What are you thinking?
They do have an IP with games and gaming.
Okay. Who is that?
Wreck-It Ralph.
Wreck-It Ralph. Yeah. So I think Wreck-It Ralph
that would be fun.
Is a really good one. You could have the whole like Game Central station. Like you could kind of build it like a land with kind of like mini portals, kind of like what they're doing in like Epic Universe, where you have Mario and then you go through another warp pipe and it's Donkey Kong. So I think you could have Game Central station. You could have a Sugar Rush attraction. You could have Fix-It Felix.
Do you think that Disney licenses Sonic off of was it Sony?
Okay, you're jumping ahead here. So I think you could have. I
didn't say that. Pretend I didn't say that.
I think you could have those attractions. But what does every CEO need? They need a splashy acquisition.
You do. You need a splashy acquisition. Who could that possibly be, Joe?
So I think that splashy acquisition, the fact that you had no idea I was going to say
I had no idea what your notes are.
I mean, I thought this was a really good idea. And I was like, oh, this is great. And then you're just like, hey, why don't we do Sonic? So every Disney CEO.
I did not suggest that. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm waited on bated breath on what you're about to say.
They need a splashy acquisition.
Who?
So I think you purchase Sega.
What?
I think you purchase Sega.
Wait, does that mean?
And you build a Sonic land.
Oh my gosh, what an idea.
Okay, but here we go. Because you don't know this. You don't know this. So I think you build Sonic. So I think you could do Wreck-It Ralph. I mean, I think existing IP, you could do Wreck-It Ralph, and you could have Sugar Rush. You could have a Fix-It Felix game. You could do some other area. Again, Game Central Station. That could be its own like restaurant and merch shop. Like they could build a very fun land based on existing Wreck-It Ralph and have a couple attractions in there. I think you could do that, and you could add Sonic to it if you license out that IP, because Sonic and Sega is probably basically the only IP out there that's not been taken. Because Universal has Nintendo, that's wrapped up. There's really no other existing kind of IP.
Yeah, like PlayStation has.
I mean, Disney already has a deal with Fortnite, but I don't know how you make a Fortnite land. Minecraft is out there. That's owned by Microsoft. So you could potentially do a Minecraft land, but I think Sonic is a lot more recognizable,
and
I think it's a lot more fun.
Has his own movies now.
It's a lot more fun. So I think you could attach Sonic to the Wreck-It Ralph land. I think you could do its own land, because the other thing you could have, Sega owns Angry Birds.
Oh, really?
They purchased Angry Birds a few years ago. So not only do they own Sonic, they own Angry Birds, and then the pigs. They have like that spin-off one. I forget what that's called. But
the disgruntled pigs.
The disgruntled pigs. But that would be an incredible land. I think Sonic, Angry Birds, Wreck-It Ralph, some combination of that.
Like, what if you got to shoot the birds at like as a mini game, kind of like they have over Nintendo Land?
That's what I'm saying.
You get to shoot it at things. That would be
having
fun.
A video game land.
That game was huge.
Lends itself to the gamification of the theme park, which makes it exciting. Yeah, I mean, Super Nintendo Land has one attraction really over in Hollywood, but it has all the mini games, so it's a lot of fun. But I think that would be huge for Disney. So I think they buy Sega. Sega is only worth about $5 billion right now because it's
billion with a B.
$5 billion, yeah, which is nothing. I mean, they paid $70 billion for Fox. Because the other thing I think is this helps us with what I was talking about with their video game strategy. They buy a video game company. So buy Sega. They have Sonic. Sega bought Angry Birds. They bought their company to help them with their mobile strategy. So now you have mobile strategy. You have video game console strategy. Disney can pump their IP into Sega's expertise and Angry Birds' expertise and have a unified strategy and then bring a Sonic land to the theme parks. For $5 billion, next to nothing. I mean, legitimately. I mean, they're talking about spending $60 billion at the theme parks over the next decade. For a company like Disney, it's next to nothing. And I think that's huge. I think that would be a huge game changer for Disney.
I do agree. So yeah.
I mean, you do because you thought of it as I was talking about it.
I don't know what you're talking about. I did not. It was all your idea, sweetheart, that I did not think of.
It's okay. It just proves it's a good idea.
It is a good idea because like Sonic is a fun character and he's one of the few that's not like that's kind of up for grabs because Nintendo, has Mario, has Donkey Kong. I believe they have
they have everything. I mean, they have everything else,
they have Link and Zelda. And they'd be stupid not to do something with that. I'm assuming. I know that there've been rumors sort of floating around that they're going to like do a Zelda land. Like people love those games. They're like wildly popular for a good reason. So like they have all of that. And like when they did Wreck-It Ralph, they brought in a lot of these characters. But like I think Sonic wasn't Sonic one of them.
Sonic was in there.
Yeah, Sonic was in there, and like so just pulling a few of those out, and then like. You're not going to notice what's not there. You're going to notice what is. And I just think that, like just the scale and the color of being in Super Nintendo world is just, it's unbelievable. Everything around like that surrounds you is, it's very like gamified. You feel like a little video game character. They've got it like doing something like that. It makes me think back to our experience when we did the Void. The most fun one for me was when we did the Wreck-It Ralph one.
That was great. Yeah.
It was amazing. And like the games like fit so well. Like it was better than the Star Wars one for me. It was better than the Marvel one that we did because it just fits so well that you were in a video game. So I think that is a fantastic idea. In fact, let's just put that right where they're going to put Cars. Let's just do that. Like right in the Magic Kingdom.
There was rumor that they were going to do a Wreck-It Ralph.
Actually, they can't because they need to build it up big, I think, and I don't think it'll fit there.
But there was rumor where Stitch's Great Escape, when that closed, a Wreck-It Ralph attraction has been rumored there for years. I mean, I kind of think you already have Tomorrowland Speedway. You could make that a Sugar Rush attraction. You have Stitch's Great Escape. You could make that something.
But they're not connected. Like they need to make a land.
No, but what I'm saying is take Tomorrowland. Make it Wreck-It Ralph. Make Tomorrowland be about the tomorrow of video games and just change that whole area because you have the Speedway, you have Stitch's Great Escape, which is just sitting empty. Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor, move that to Hollywood Studios. Like you have a lot of space there to really do something. If you really wanted without necessarily expanding the park. So, but I think that's the move. I think you need a fun land, and I think Sega's the acquisition that I make.
All right. I think that this is a great idea. So I just have a few minor additions just to go along with the parks additions that you made. So first of all, I think we talked about live entertainment. I do feel like Disney has been doing better lately with adding in live entertainment. I think
it's hit and miss. I think Walt Disney World is starting to get some back because you have the international cast members.
Not so much.
And Disneyland, they're pulling back on all the Avengers campus.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's...
Yep.
It depends.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I do think though, live entertainment should be prioritized, but also they need to invest in immersive entertainment. So, I would be remiss if I didn't say that the Star Cruiser was one of the most standout experiences of my life. I think that it was really fantastic. I think that finding a way to do something, whether it is reopen the Star Cruiser, whether it is doing something on a smaller scale, like the Adventurers Club, where it is one restaurant, one place that people can go to. I think that is more manageable. I think that, they need to do more of that. It seems like they're starting to do some of that on the cruise ships, right? Like it didn't sound kind of like
the newest cruise ship, they're like the heroes and villains are going to be on there, and it's going to be a more like multi-day immersive storylines kind of going on that. They talked about kind of taking what they learned from the Star Cruiser and putting it on there. So
so like they need to rehire some of those brilliant people.
I think we'll see that starting to pop. I mean, I think that's what's going to happen. Like it's not good ideas never die. They find ways to reuse them in other areas.
Yeah. So I need to see that in places. I need to see it happening more. I need to see it like out in Galaxy's Edge. They could do little like missions that you can take part in, and it could be contained in your app or something. And then every time you go back, that information follows you. I know that probably costs a decent amount of money, but I don't know. I think that it would be worth like user satisfaction. And again, that's something, or like people like guest satisfaction. People would go there and then they would just hang out in there. They wouldn't even be riding rides. Like you would like draw crowds. And then another thing, in addition to that, I think that in the new Villains Land, there's a couple rides that need to be made. I think that these are very important for guest satisfaction. One of the rides,
I like how you are like a CEO typically. It's grand vision, it's strategy. It's like, hey, we're going to make an acquisition. You're like, I'm going to tell you specifically what ride you need to build. I'm going to tell you specifically what movies you need to make over here. You're very like hands-on CEO.
Oh, I'd be a nightmare.
Yeah. You said it, not me.
They need to make Escape from Elephant Graveyard, which is the ride that I have imagineered many times on this. I think that probably people who are longtime listeners are probably laughing right now.
They have to make it, and then they have to pay you like a license fee for the idea,
I'm
right?
CEO. I'm making plenty of money.
Good. Oh, you're good.
I'm making plenty of money. Listen, I'm pushing my money down to the little guys.
We should start a Kickstarter to build this somewhere.
I know, right? So they need to, Escape from Elephant Graveyard, which is a roller coaster type ride.
We don't need to explain it. It's a roller coaster type ride. I love that.
Because I see it as it is a trackless ride that then clips in, kind of like Rise of the Resistance. It clips in to a roller coaster car and then becomes a roller coaster. So you move through scenes.
This is the most expensive ride ever made.
Thank you very much.
It's worth it with new technology that's not even invented yet.
Yes, but they've got some of the baseline, from Rise of the Resistance.
All right. Okay, so we're telling specific rides we need to make.
Okay, so we're doing that. And in addition to that, one that I've seen online a couple times that I think is a fantastic idea is also Yzma and Kronk's lab coaster.
Oh, okay.
So whenever they like pull the lever and then she goes down.
That's
and
a big fan favorite.
I do think, and Emperor's New Groove doesn't get, just like in the United States parks, I don't think Lion King gets enough love. Emperor's New Groove gets like no love.
Yeah, it's nowhere in the parks.
It's nowhere in the parks. So I think that building that ride, I think Yzma and Kronk are two of the more like two of the minor characters that are more loved than probably, I don't know, a lot of other minor characters. I think that those two rides need to be built. And I also think there needs to be a Dogs at Typhoon Lagoon
dog
day.
Party. Bring your dogs to the water park.
I will not be bringing my dog. He is reactive, but I would love to go to Typhoon Lagoon and
he
watch
also
the
doesn't like
swim.
water.
Yeah,
we took him to a pool one time.
A couple times. We tried.
Did not care for water.
We tried.
Too much.
We've tried many things with Loki to get him to love doing stuff.
I like that though. They have the pet friendly hotels. They have the best friends pet daycare.
Mm-hmm.
Have like a after hours party with your dog at Typhoon Lagoon.
It could be okay. I'll even back off if we realize that this is not even not feasible. We could do it over at like the blue pool in
like Art of Animation.
Art of Animation. That's a big pool.
Yeah.
And then the dogs would probably enjoy the music under the water. I mean, it's
exactly.
I think, and it's a win-win. Like everybody, you can go over, you take the Skyliner.
Well, that makes sense because Art of Animation is a pet-friendly hotel.
Exactly.
That's one of the ones with pet-friendly. So just let the dog swim.
Just let the doggos have a swim, and everyone could come and watch. And I would enjoy the crap
I think
out
the
of
problem is the pools are deep. Like you wouldn't want a very deep. That seems like a liability if it's like a 5-foot deep pool. We need like a special.
I will come and volunteer as the CEO as a lifeguard dog person.
Why don't we just build a dog pool at Art of Animation that the dogs can go into?
Yes.
All the pet-friendly
So
hotels.
I guess toddlers could use it as well, but
all the pet-friendly
yeah.
hotels should have a pet-friendly pool. It's hot. Dogs get hot in Florida.
Yeah.
They want to cool off too.
I agree.
I like that idea.
Yes.
So you are going to be in every meeting, directing every aspect of the company. I'm more big picture CEO.
I need some clone clay.
Kind of broad strokes there type thing. So I think all good ideas though. Again, would love to hear from our listeners. Like, what would you do as CEO? Let us know in the comments.
Disney, hire us.
Would love to hear your feedback. That wraps up the show this week. Want to thank everybody again for listening. If you've not done so, please give us a rating or a review. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast. It really helps, and we really appreciate it.
Thanks for lending us your ears.
Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you here next Monday.
Bye-bye.